The sky turned dark at noon. It was not clouds. It was not an eclipse. It was something that no human had ever seen before. Massive ships blocked the sun over every major city on Earth. They were so big that people could not see where they started or where they ended. In Seoul, a young woman named Yuna stood on the roof of the Defense Ministry building. She was a commander in the United Earth Defense Force. She was only 32 years old, but she had already proven herself in many difficult situations. Today, she felt fear for the first time in years. Her phone rang. It was General Daeho, the highest military leader on Earth. "Commander Yuna, come to the war room immediately," he said. His voice was calm, but she could hear tension behind his words. She ran down the stairs and entered the underground bunker. The war room was filled with generals and leaders from every country. Large screens showed the alien ships hovering over New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, and dozens of other cities. The ships were dark gray with strange symbols on their sides. They made no sound, but their presence was terrifying. General Daeho stood at the center of the room. He was 60 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and had never lost. But this was different. This was not a war against other humans. This was something from the stars. "They call themselves the Velcor Empire," Daeho said to everyone in the room. "They sent us a message 1 hour ago." He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the middle of the room. It showed a tall alien creature. The Velcor had blue-gray skin, 4 arms, and eyes that glowed yellow. It wore golden armor that showed its high rank. The alien spoke in a deep voice. Its words were translated by computers. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Taman of the Velcor Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds across this galaxy. Today, we add your planet to our great empire. You have 72 hours to surrender. Give us your resources, your technology, and your obedience. If you refuse, we will destroy your cities one by one until nothing remains. Do not test our power. Resistance is death." The hologram disappeared. The room was silent. Some leaders looked scared. Others looked angry. A few looked like they wanted to cry. "What do we do?" asked one leader from Europe. "We cannot fight against this. Their ships are enormous. Our weapons are nothing compared to theirs." "We surrender," said another leader. "We have no choice. We must protect our people." Yuna listened to them argue. She understood their fear. The alien ships were beyond anything Earth had ever built. Their technology was hundreds or maybe thousands of years ahead of humanity. But something inside her refused to accept defeat. General Daeho raised his hand, and everyone became quiet. "I have been a soldier for 40 years, he said slowly. "I have seen enemies that seemed impossible to defeat. But I learned one thing in all those years. The moment you believe you have already lost, you have truly lost." He walked to the main screen and looked at the alien ships. "They think we are weak because we are young. They think we are stupid because we have not traveled to the stars. They think we will kneel because they have bigger ships." He turned back to face the room. "They are wrong." The leaders whispered among themselves. Some thought Daeho was crazy. Others felt hope growing in their hearts. "General, with respect, how can we fight them?" asked a military leader from Asia. "Our missiles cannot even scratch their ships. Our planes are like toys compared to theirs." Daeho smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that made enemies nervous. 50 years ago, a Velcor scout ship crashed in the Pacific Ocean," he said. "We recovered it in secret. For 50 years, our best scientists studied it. They learned its secrets. They copied its technology. They improved it." The room erupted in noise. Many leaders had never heard of this. "Why were we not told?" one demanded. "Because we were waiting," Daeho replied. "Waiting for the day when we would need it. That day has come." He looked at Yuna. "Commander, show them." Yuna stepped forward and pulled up new images on the screen. They showed underground factories, hidden bases, and weapons that looked nothing like anything Earth had ever made public. There were sleek fighter ships, powerful cannons that could fire energy beams, and shields that could protect entire cities. Project Phoenix, Yuna explained. For 50 years, we have been building in secret. We have 100 fighter ships with alien technology. We have defense platforms hidden in orbit. We have weapons that can pierce any armor. The leaders stared in disbelief. We knew this day would come, Deho continued. We knew that someday, someone from the stars would try to take our home. And we prepared. He walked to the communication console. Now, I will respond to Admiral Taman. He pressed the button to send a message to the alien fleet. Admiral Taman, of the Velcor Empire. This is General Deho of Earth. We have received your demands. We have discussed them carefully. And we have reached a decision. He paused for a moment. You have made a mistake coming here. You think we are weak. You think we will surrender. You are wrong. Earth does not kneel. Earth does not break. If you want our planet, you will have to fight for it. And I promise you this, you will regret every moment of this invasion. He leaned closer to the microphone. This is your last error. The message ended. The war room was completely silent. Yuna felt her heart beating fast. She was scared, but she was also excited. For her entire life, she had trained to protect her planet. Now she would finally have the chance. General Deho turned to face his commanders. We have 72 hours before they attack. In that time, we will prepare. We will move our people to safety. We will activate Project Phoenix, and when they come, we will show them what humans can do. High above Earth, on the main Velcor warship, Admiral Taman received Deho's message. He listened to it with his 4 arms crossed over his chest. When it finished, he laughed. Foolish creatures, he said to his officers. They dare to threaten us? We have destroyed civilizations far greater than theirs. They are nothing but insects. His second officer, a Velcor named Hana, looked uncertain. Admiral, perhaps we should be careful. They seem confident. Maybe they have something we do not know about. Taman waved his hand dismissively. They are bluffing. Primitive species always try to seem strong when they are weak. In 72 hours, their cities will burn, and their leaders will beg on their knees. He looked out the window at the blue planet below. Earth will fall, just like every other world we have conquered. But deep in his mind, a small voice whispered that something was different about these humans. He ignored it. That would be his first mistake. 48 hours had passed since the Velcor Empire delivered their demands. Earth was preparing for war in ways the aliens could not imagine. Deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, Captain Minji walked through the secret base known as Phoenix 1. She was 35 years old with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She had been training for this moment since she was 18, when the government recruited her into the secret program. The base was enormous. It stretched for kilometers underground, hidden from all satellites and sensors. Thousands of soldiers and scientists worked day and night. The sound of machines and voices filled the massive tunnels. Minji stopped in front of the main hangar. Before her stood 100 fighter ships. They were beautiful and deadly. Each one was built using technology from the crashed Velcor ship. But human engineers had made many improvements. The ships were faster, stronger, and more agile than anything the Velcor had ever seen from a young species. Captain Minji, called a voice behind her. She turned to see Jinwoo, the best pilot in the program. He was 28 years old with a quick smile, and even quicker reflexes. He had been flying test missions for 5 years, and knew these ships better than anyone. Are the pilots ready? Minji asked. Yes, Captain. All 100 pilots are prepared. We have been training for years. Now, we finally get to show what we can do. Minji nodded. She felt proud of her team. They were young men and women from all over the world. They had given up normal lives to prepare for this day. They had trained in secret, unable to tell their families what they were doing. And now, the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. Remember, she said, the Velcor do not know about us. They think Earth has only primitive weapons. That surprise is our greatest advantage. We must use it wisely. That We must use it wisely. Jinwoo grinned. They will never forget us after today. Meanwhile, on the Velcor flagship, Admiral Taemin was growing impatient. 24 hours remained before the deadline, and he was eager for battle. Conquest was in his blood. His family had been military leaders for generations, and he had never failed. Report, he commanded. His second officer, Hana, stepped forward. The humans are evacuating their cities. They are moving people underground and into rural areas. They seem to be preparing to fight. Taemin laughed. Let them prepare. It will make no difference. Our weapons can destroy mountains. Their little shelters will be their tombs. Admiral, our sensors have detected some unusual activity, Hana continued. There are energy signatures coming from several locations around the planet. They are faint, but they do not match any known human technology. For a moment, Taemin felt curious. Then he dismissed the concern. They're power stations, probably. Or perhaps they are trying to build some last-minute weapon. It does not matter. Nothing they create in a few hours can match what we have built over thousands of years. But Hana was not convinced. She had studied many conquered worlds, and she had learned to respect the desperate actions of those facing destruction. Desperate creatures could be unpredictable. Perhaps we should send scouts to investigate, she suggested. No, Taemin said firmly. We will not waste resources on these insects. When the deadline passes, we will simply demonstrate our power. One city destroyed will be enough to make them submit. He turned to look at Earth through the large window of his command center. The planet was beautiful, with its blue oceans and green lands. Soon it would belong to the Empire. They are brave, I will admit, he said quietly. Most species beg for mercy when they see our fleet. These humans sent us a threat instead. It is almost admirable, but also foolish, one of his officers added. Yes, Taemin agreed. Very foolish. On Earth, General Daeho was in constant communication with defense forces around the world. Every country had put aside its differences. There were no more borders, no more political arguments. There was only humanity, united against a common enemy. In the war room, Yuna coordinated the final preparations. She had not slept in 2 days, but she felt wide awake. Adrenaline and determination kept her going. Commander, a technician called out. The orbital defense platforms are online. All 12 stations are active and ready. Yuna smiled. The orbital platforms were another secret. They had been launched over the past 30 years, disguised as communication satellites and space debris. Each platform carried powerful weapons capable of damaging Velcor ships. What about the ground defenses? She asked. Shield generators are ready in 140 cities. Once activated, they will protect against orbital bombardment for at least 6 hours. 6 hours. That was all they had. After that, the shields would fail, and the cities would be exposed. They had to win within 6 hours, or everything would be lost. Daeho approached her with a cup of coffee. You should rest, he said kindly. Even warriors need sleep. I cannot sleep, General. Not with so much at stake. He nodded in understanding. I felt the same way before my first battle. The waiting is always the hardest part. But you have done well. Yuna. Your family would be proud. Yuna's eyes grew sad for a moment. Her parents had been scientists in the Phoenix program. They had died 10 years ago in an accident during a weapons test. They never got to see the fruits of their work. I hope so, she whispered. High in orbit, the Velcor fleet waited like predators watching their prey. There were 50 warships in total, each one larger than any structure humans had ever built. The flagship alone was 10 kilometers long, a floating city of weapons and soldiers. On one of the smaller ships, a young Velcor soldier named Su looked down at Earth with mixed feelings. He had joined the military because it was expected of him, not because he wanted to conquer other worlds. He had seen what the Empire did to conquered species, and it troubled him. Beautiful planet, he said to a fellow soldier. It will be more beautiful once we control it, the other replied. Think of all the resources. The Empire will reward us well. Sue said nothing. He wondered about the creatures who lived on that blue world. Were they so different from the Velcor? Did they have families, dreams, hopes, and now they faced destruction simply because they existed in a universe where the strong conquered the weak. All soldiers, prepare for battle, announced the ship's speaker. The deadline ends in 12 hours. Commander expects full compliance with attack orders. Sue checked his weapon and armor. Whatever his personal feelings, he was still a soldier. He would follow orders. But a small part of him hoped that somehow these humans would surprise everyone. Back on Earth, Captain Minji gathered all the pilots for a final briefing. They stood in the hangar, surrounded by the ships that would carry them into battle. "Tomorrow, we fight for our homes," she said, her voice strong and clear. "Tomorrow, we show the galaxy that humanity is not prey. These aliens think they know what we are capable of. They are wrong." She pointed to the ships behind her. "These vessels carry the hopes of 8 billion people. Every child, every parent, every dreamer on this planet is counting on us. We cannot fail them." Jinwoo stepped forward. "Captain, we have trained for years for this. We know these ships. We know our enemy's weaknesses. We are ready." The other pilots shouted in agreement. Their fear had transformed into determination. Minji looked at each of their faces. They were so young, many of them barely adults. But their eyes showed courage and fire. "Get some rest," she ordered. "Tomorrow, we make history." As the pilots departed, Minji stayed behind. She touched the cold metal of her ship and whispered a prayer to whatever forces might be listening. "Please," she said, "let us be enough." Above Earth, Admiral Taman reviewed his battle plans one final time. He had decided to destroy Tokyo first, as a demonstration. It was a major city, but not a capital. It would send a message without completely breaking human resistance. He wanted them afraid, not totally destroyed. Slaves were more useful than corpses. "Admiral, we are ready," Hana reported. "Excellent. When the deadline passes, we will begin. Earth will learn the price of defiance." He sat back in his command chair, completely confident in his victory. He had no idea that in just a few hours, his entire world would change. The humans were coming, and they would bring with them a fury that the Velcor Empire had never experienced. The deadline passed at midnight. Admiral Taman gave the order without hesitation. "Target Tokyo. Fire primary weapons." The Velcor flagship hummed with power as massive energy cannons charged. Bright blue light gathered at the weapon ports, ready to rain destruction on millions of innocent people. Then something unexpected happened. A golden shield appeared over Tokyo. It spread across the sky like a dome of light, covering the entire city. When the Velcor weapons fired, the energy beams hit the shield and scattered harmlessly into the atmosphere. Admiral Taman stood up from his chair, shocked for the first time in his career. "What is that?" he demanded. "How do they have shield technology?" Hana's fingers moved quickly over her console. "Unknown, Admiral. The shield is similar to our own technology, but there are differences. It appears to be a modified version." "Modified? Impossible. They are primitives." Before Taman could process this information, alarms began screaming across the bridge. Red lights flashed everywhere. "Admiral, ships approaching from Earth. Multiple contacts." On the main screen, 100 human fighter ships burst through the clouds. They moved in perfect formation, fast and agile. Their designs were unlike anything the Velcor had seen before. They were sleek and aggressive, built for speed and deadly accuracy. At the front of the formation flew Jinwoo. His hands gripped the controls firmly as he led his fellow pilots toward the enemy fleet. His heart was pounding, but his mind was calm. He had trained thousands of hours for this moment. "All pilots, this is Jinwoo. Stay in formation. Target their weapon systems first. Remember your training. Today, we fight for Earth." The human ships engaged the Velcor fleet. What happened next changed the galaxy forever. Jinwoo's ship fired first. A beam of white energy shot from his weapons and struck a Velcor cruiser. The enemy ship's shields flickered and failed. A second shot tore through the hull, and the cruiser exploded in a ball of fire. The Velcor were stunned. Their ships had powerful shields that could withstand attacks from most known weapons, but these human ships had somehow created weapons that could pierce them. "Return fire!" Taman screamed. "Destroy them all!" The Velcor ships opened fire, filling space with deadly energy. But the human pilots were ready. They moved with incredible skill, dodging and weaving through the attacks. Their smaller ships were much more agile than the massive Velcor vessels. Pilot Su-jin, flying on Jinwoo's right side, destroyed 2 enemy fighters with perfect shots. She was only 24 years old, but she flew like a veteran warrior. "Nice shots, Su-jin," Jinwoo called over the radio. "Save the compliments for later," she replied. "We have work to do." The battle was intense and chaotic. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. Ships from both sides were destroyed in the fighting. But slowly, incredibly, the humans were winning. On Earth, General Daeho watched the battle on the main screen. He stood completely still, his hands clasped behind his back. Every pilot up there was like a child to him. He had watched them train, grow, and become warriors. Now they were fighting and dying to protect humanity. "Come on," he whispered. "You can do this." Yuna stood beside him, coordinating communications between the pilots and ground forces. "General, the shields are holding in all cities. The Velcor bombardment is having no effect." "Good. Keep those shields up. And tell Captain Minji, it is time for Phase 2. In the space above Earth, Captain Minji received the order. She was commanding the battle from a special ship positioned behind the main formation. "All pilots, Phase 2. Target the flagship. Everything we have." The human ships regrouped and charged toward Admiral Taman's massive vessel. The Velcor tried to stop them, but too many of their escort ships had already been destroyed or damaged. Taman watched in horror as the small human ships approached his flagship. This was not supposed to happen. He was supposed to crush them easily. He was supposed to make them kneel. "All weapons, focus on those ships," he ordered. The flagship's defenses fired everything they had. Several human ships were hit and destroyed. Pilots died in bright flashes of fire. But the others kept coming. Jinwoo felt tears in his eyes as he saw his friends die. He knew some of them since training began. They had eaten together, laughed together, dreamed of this day together. And now, they were gone. But he could not stop. He could not fail them. "For Earth," he said through gritted teeth. "For everyone." His ship reached the flagship and fired directly at the bridge. The shot pierced the shields and struck the command center. The entire room shook violently. Admiral Taman was thrown from his chair. Consoles exploded around him. Officers screamed as fire and debris filled the bridge. "Admiral!" Hana called, rushing to help him. "We must retreat. The ship is badly damaged." "Never," Taman snarled. "I will not run from these insects." But even as he spoke, more shots struck the flagship. The ship groaned and shook. Systems failed one by one. The mighty vessel that had conquered countless worlds was dying. From Earth, the orbital defense platforms finally activated. 12 stations, hidden for decades, revealed their true purpose. They fired concentrated beams of energy at the remaining Velcor warships. One ship after another was hit. Some exploded immediately. Others tried to flee but were struck before they could escape. Minji watched the destruction with mixed emotions. Part of her felt triumph. They were winning. But another part felt sad for all the death. Even enemy death. "Captain," a pilot reported, "the enemy fleet is breaking apart. They are trying to run." "Do not let them escape," Minji ordered. "If any ship gets away, they will return with more forces." The human ships pursued the fleeing Velcor vessels. It was no longer a battle. It was a hunt. On the damaged flagship, Admiral Taman finally accepted the truth. He had lost. For the first time in his life, he had been defeated. And he had been defeated by a species he had considered primitive and weak. How? he whispered, blood running down his face from a wound on his head. How is this possible? Hana helped him stand. The bridge was destroyed. Most of the officers were dead or injured. The ship was barely functioning. Admiral, we must surrender, she said. It is our only chance. Taemin wanted to refuse. His pride screamed at him to fight until death. But he looked at Hana and the few surviving crew members. They did not deserve to die for his pride. Send the signal, he said quietly. We surrender. The message was transmitted to the human forces. All remaining Velcor ships stopped firing and powered down their weapons. Cheers erupted across Earth. In every city, in every country, people celebrated. They hugged strangers. They cried with relief. They looked up at the sky where moments ago, death had waited. In the war room, General Deho allowed himself a small smile. We did it, Yuna said, her voice shaking with emotion. We actually did it. The battle is won, Deho replied. But the war is not over. We must secure the prisoners and prepare for what comes next. In space, Jinwoo landed his damaged ship on one of the orbital platforms. He sat in the cockpit for a long moment, unable to move. His hands were shaking. His whole body was shaking. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had won. Sujin's voice came over the radio. Jinwoo, are you okay? I am alive, he replied. That is enough for now. He thought of the pilots who had not survived. 37 of his friends had died in the battle. 37 heroes who gave everything so that humanity could live. I will remember you, he promised them silently. Forever. The Velcor flagship was captured by human forces. The surviving crew was taken prisoner and transported to secure facilities on Earth. Admiral Taemin was brought to General Deho personally. The two leaders stood face to face. The conqueror and the conquered. You surprised us, Taemin admitted. I did not think it was possible. Deho looked at him with cold eyes. That was your mistake. You judged us by our age, not our spirit. Humanity has been fighting for survival since we first existed. You are just another threat we had to overcome. Taemin lowered his head. He had no response. What will you do with us? He asked. For now, you will be our prisoners. But understand this, we are not like you. We do not enslave or destroy those we defeat. You will be treated fairly. Taemin was surprised. Every species the Velcor had conquered, they had crushed completely. Mercy was seen as weakness in his culture. Why? He asked. Why show us kindness after we tried to destroy you? General Deho considered the question carefully. Because that is what makes us human. 3 days had passed since humanity's victory. The world was still celebrating. But the leaders knew their work was far from finished. Commander Sujin stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, looking down at Earth. She had been promoted after the battle for her exceptional skills. Now she was in charge of the defense platforms that had helped save humanity. The view was beautiful. Blue oceans sparkled under the sun. White clouds drifted peacefully over green continents. It was hard to believe that just days ago, aliens had tried to destroy all of it. Commander, a technician called. We have a problem. Sujin turned immediately. Report. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive energy signature approaching our solar system. It is still far away, but it is moving fast. Her heart sank. How massive. The technician's face was pale. Much larger than the fleet we just defeated. Initial estimates suggest at least 200 warships. Sujin rushed to the communication console and contacted General Deho on Earth immediately. General, we have incoming. A large Velcor reinforcement fleet. They will reach Earth in approximately 48 hours. There was silence on the other end. Then Deho's voice came. Calm and steady as always. Understood. Call all commanders to the war room. We need to prepare. On Earth, the celebration stopped. News spread quickly through military channels. The enemy was sending a much larger force. The battle they had won was just the beginning. Admiral Taemin was brought before General Deho in a secure interrogation room. The alien looked tired and defeated. But when he heard about the approaching fleet, something changed in his eyes. You detected them, Taman said. Good. At least you will not be caught by surprise. Tell me about this fleet, Deho demanded. How many ships? What kind of weapons? Taman was silent for a moment. He had been an enemy just days ago. Why should he help these humans? But something had changed inside him. He had seen how they fought, not with cruelty, but with courage. He had seen how they treated their prisoners, not with violence, but with fairness. These humans were unlike any species the Velcor had ever conquered. Grand Admiral Wanjin commands the reinforcement fleet, Taman finally said. He is my superior and the most powerful military leader in this sector. He has 250 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts? Yuna asked. She was standing beside Deho, recording every word. Massive battle stations. Each one is 50 kilometers long and carries enough firepower to destroy a planet. They are the pride of the Velcor Empire. The room fell silent. 3 planet-destroying weapons were heading toward Earth. Even with all their secret technology, humanity did not have anything that powerful. Why are you helping us? Deho asked suspiciously. Taman met his gaze. Because I have learned something in these past days. My entire life, I was taught that strength means crushing the weak. That mercy is foolishness. That conquest is the only path to glory. He paused, looking at his 4-fingered hands. But you humans proved me wrong. You were supposed to be weak, yet you defeated us. You could have killed us all, yet you showed mercy. You have strength. I do not understand. And I find myself curious about your species. Deho studied the alien carefully. After 40 years of reading people, he had developed good instincts. And right now, his instincts told him that Taman was being genuine. If you want to help us, tell us everything. Every weakness in those ships, every flaw in Wanjin's strategy, everything. Taman nodded slowly. I will tell you what I know. But I warn you, Wanjin is not like me. He has never lost a battle. He is ruthless and brilliant. Defeating him will be the greatest challenge your species has ever faced. Over the next several hours, Taman provided detailed information about the approaching fleet. He explained the shield frequencies, weapon ranges, and communication systems. He revealed that Wanjin was overconfident and often ignored advice from his officers. He will expect you to fight the same way you fought me, Taman said. He will prepare for your ships and your orbital platforms. You must do something unexpected. Captain Minji was listening from another room through a video feed. Her mind was racing with ideas. General, she said over the communication link, I think I have a plan, but it is dangerous and will require everything we have. Come to the war room, Deho replied. Tell us. 1 hour later, all the senior commanders were gathered. Minji stood before a large holographic display showing the solar system. The Velcor expect us to defend Earth directly. They will approach with overwhelming force, using their dreadnoughts to destroy our platforms and ships. In a direct battle, we cannot win. She pressed a button, and the display changed to show the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. But what if we do not fight directly? What if we bring the battle to them before they reach Earth? Jinwoo leaned forward with interest. An ambush? Exactly. The asteroid belt provides natural cover and confusion. We hide our ships among the rocks. When the Velcor fleet passes through, we attack from all sides. We focus everything on the dreadnoughts. Deho considered the plan. If we destroy the dreadnoughts, can we defeat the rest of their fleet? According to Taman's information, the dreadnoughts are the core of their power. Without them, the other ships will lose coordination and morale. We can pick them off one by one. The risk is enormous, Yuna pointed out. If the ambush fails, Earth will have no defense. True, Minji admitted. But if we wait for them here, we lose anyway. At least this way, we have a chance. The room was silent as everyone considered the stakes. Finally, Deho made his decision. We will do it. Begin preparations immediately. We have 42 hours. The next 2 days were a blur of activity. Every available ship was prepared for the mission. The surviving pilots from the first battle were joined by new volunteers who had trained on simulators but never flown in actual combat. Jinwoo led the pilot briefings. He had become a hero after the first battle, and the newer pilots looked at him with admiration. "Listen carefully," he told them. "This battle will be harder than the first one. The enemy has more ships and bigger weapons. Many of us will not come back." He looked at their young faces. Some were scared, others were determined. All of them were brave. "But remember why we fight. Behind us is Earth. Our families, our friends, everything we love. If we fail, they die. That cannot happen." He raised his fist. "For Earth! For Earth!" they shouted back. At the same time, Sujin was coordinating the placement of the orbital platforms. They could not be moved physically, but their targeting systems were adjusted to support the ambush from a distance. "If everything goes according to plan, we will provide long-range fire support during the final phase," she explained to her team. "Our shots will take time to reach the asteroid belt, so timing is critical." On the flagship, now partially repaired by human engineers, Minji prepared for departure. She would command the battle from space this time. Leading the fleet personally, Daeho came to see her before she left. "Captain," he said, "the fate of humanity rests on your shoulders. I know that is a heavy burden." Minji looked at him with steady eyes. "I am ready, General. We all are. I know you are." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Whatever happens, you have already made history. Now go and finish the job." The human fleet departed Earth at full speed. 73 ships, all that remained of their forces, racing toward a confrontation with 250 enemies. As they traveled toward the asteroid belt, Minji gathered her senior officers for a final meeting. "Remember the key points," she said. "We hide until the dreadnoughts are in range. We strike the first one together, then split into 3 groups for the other 2. Speed and coordination are essential." Jinwoo nodded. "We have practiced this 100 times in simulation. We know what to do." "Simulations are not real battle," Minji reminded him. "Be prepared for anything." Hours passed as the fleet traveled through space. The asteroid belt grew closer and closer. Finally, they arrived. The human ships scattered and hid among the massive rocks, engines powered down, waiting like predators in the shadows. And in the distance, the Velcor armada approached, unaware of the trap that waited for them. Grand Admiral Wan Jin sat on his throne-like command chair, looking at the stars ahead. He had heard about Taemon's defeat and was disgusted by it. "Weak fool," he muttered, "losing to primitive creatures. I will correct his failure and remind the galaxy why the Velcor Empire is feared." His massive dreadnought led the fleet toward Earth. Behind him followed 249 warships, an unstoppable wave of destruction, or so he believed. In the asteroid belt, Minji watched the sensors as the enemy fleet drew closer. "Steady," she whispered. "Wait for them. Wait." Her heart pounded in her chest. This was it. The moment that would decide everything. The Velcor fleet entered the asteroid belt. "Now!" Minji commanded. "All ships, attack!" The ambush had begun. The asteroid belt exploded into chaos as 73 human ships burst from their hiding places. They attacked with perfect coordination, focusing all their firepower on the lead dreadnought. Grand Admiral Wanjin was caught completely off guard. One moment, his fleet was cruising toward Earth in total confidence. The next moment, death came from every direction. "Shields up, return fire," he screamed, gripping his command chair as the dreadnought shook from multiple impacts. But the humans had planned well. Their weapons targeted the exact frequencies Taemon had revealed. The dreadnought's shields, designed to withstand almost any attack, flickered and failed under the precise assault. Jinwoo led his squadron directly toward the massive vessel's core. He flew through a storm of enemy fire, his ship twisting and turning with incredible skill. "Stay with me," he called to his pilots. We have to hit the reactor. 3 pilots fell to enemy shots, their ships vanishing in bright explosions. Jinwoo felt each loss like a knife in his heart, but he could not stop. He had to keep going. His targeting computer locked onto the dreadnought's reactor core. He fired everything he had. The shot was perfect. It pierced through the weakened hull and struck the power source directly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a blinding light erupted from inside the dreadnought. The entire massive structure tore itself apart in a spectacular explosion that could be seen from Earth. Cheers filled the human communication channels, but Minji quickly silenced them. The battle is not over. 2 dreadnoughts remain. Group 2. Group 3. Move to your targets. The human fleet split into 3 formations. Minji led one group toward the second dreadnought, while the other 2 engaged the remaining enemy ships. Grand Admiral Wonjin survived the destruction of his flagship by escaping to another vessel at the last moment. He watched in horror as his precious dreadnought burned. "This is impossible," he whispered. "How can primitives do this?" His officers tried to organize a counterattack, but the battle was already turning against them. The human ships were smaller and faster, and the asteroid field made it difficult for the larger Velcor vessels to maneuver. The second dreadnought fell 30 minutes later. A coordinated attack from 20 human ships overwhelmed its defenses and destroyed its weapon systems. It drifted helplessly, a giant metal corpse floating among the rocks. Now only one dreadnought remained. Wonjin retreated to this final fortress, gathering what remained of his fleet around it. Of his original 250 ships, less than 100 were still functional. The humans had lost many as well. Only 45 ships remained, but they showed no sign of stopping. "Admiral," an officer reported, "the humans are regrouping for another attack. They are targeting our last dreadnought." Wonjin's mind raced. He had 2 choices. He could stay and fight, possibly losing everything, or he could retreat and save what remained of his forces. For the first time in his career, he felt true fear. Not fear of death, he had faced death many times, but fear of something worse. Fear that everything he believed about the galaxy was wrong. "Prepare to retreat," he ordered, his voice heavy with shame. "Admiral?" The officer was shocked. "We cannot retreat. The Empire will. The Empire will need ships to defend against these humans." Wonjin interrupted. "If we lose everything here, we lose the ability to warn others. Retreat now." The surviving Velcor ships began to pull back. They had come to conquer Earth. Now they fled like frightened animals. But the humans were not finished. Minji saw the enemy trying to escape and made a quick decision. "Sujin, can the orbital platforms reach them?" From Earth orbit, Sujin checked her systems. "It will take our shots several minutes to arrive. But yes, we can hit them." "Do it. Target the last dreadnought." Sujin programmed the coordinates and fired. 12 beams of concentrated energy shot through space, traveling at incredible speed toward the distant battlefield. The Velcor did not detect the incoming fire until it was too late. The shots struck the final dreadnought just as it was preparing to jump to faster-than-light speed. The mighty vessel cracked open like an egg. Its reactor exploded, creating a shockwave that damaged several nearby ships. Grand Admiral Wonjin watched helplessly as his last hope was destroyed. Only 63 Velcor ships managed to escape into hyperspace. The rest were destroyed or captured by human forces. The battle was over. Humanity had won again. On Earth, the celebration was even greater than before. People filled the streets of every city, singing, crying, and hugging each other. They had faced extinction twice, and survived both times. General Daeho stood in the war room, watching the final battle data scroll across the screen. They had lost 28 more ships and pilots, 28 more heroes who would never come home. He bowed his head in silent respect for their sacrifice. Yuna approached him quietly. "General, the United Earth Council wants to speak with you. They are discussing what comes next." "What comes next?" Daeho repeated thoughtfully. "Yes, I suppose we must think about that now." He straightened his uniform and walked toward the meeting chamber. The world's leaders were gathered, waiting for him. "General Daeho, the council president said. Humanity owes you a debt that can never be repaid. Because of your leadership, our species survives. The credit belongs to our soldiers, Deho replied. They fought and died while I watched from safety. They are the real heroes. Nevertheless, we must now decide our future. The Velcor Empire knows about us. They will send more forces. Perhaps not tomorrow, but eventually. What do you recommend? Deho considered the question carefully. He thought about Admiral Taman, who had helped them despite being an enemy. He thought about the young pilots, who had shown courage beyond imagination. He thought about what kind of future humanity should build. We have two choices, he said finally. We can hide and hope they forget about us, or we can show the galaxy who we truly are. What do you mean? A council member asked. We have proven that humanity is not weak. We have technology and warriors that can match any empire. Now, we must let everyone know. We must send a message that echoes across the stars. The council members looked at each other, uncertain. Captain Minji, who had returned to Earth after the battle, stepped forward. I agree with General Deho. Fear will not protect us. Only strength will. The Velcor attacked us because they thought we were prey. We must prove to the entire galaxy that Earth is not prey. The debate continued for hours, but in the end, the decision was made. 1 week later, a powerful broadcast was transmitted across every known frequency, in every known alien language. It spread across the galaxy at the speed of light, reaching thousands of star systems. General Deho appeared in the message, standing straight and proud. To all species of this galaxy, I am General Deho of Earth. Our world was recently invaded by the Velcor Empire. They thought we were weak. They thought we would surrender. They were wrong. Images appeared showing the destroyed Velcor fleets, the burning dreadnoughts, the captured Admiral Taman. We did not ask for war. We did not seek conflict. We only wished to live in peace. But when enemies came to destroy us, we fought back. And we won. Deho's expression hardened. Let this be a warning to any who would threaten our world. Earth is not prey. We are not victims waiting to be conquered. We are warriors. We are survivors. We have faced extinction and emerged stronger. He leaned toward the camera. Any empire, any species, any force that threatens humanity will face the same fate as the Velcor fleets. Total destruction. We do not want war. But if war comes to us, we will end it. His voice rose with power and conviction. This is your last warning. Leave us in peace, and we will be peaceful neighbors. Attack us, and we will be the last enemy you ever face. The message ended with an image of Earth, beautiful and blue, surrounded by its new defense network. Across the galaxy, countless species received this broadcast. Some were afraid, others were curious, a few were inspired. The Velcor Empire received it in their distant capital. The Emperor himself watched in cold fury. But his advisors convinced him that attacking Earth again would cost far more than it was worth. For now, humanity was safe. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. But nothing was truly the same. Humanity knew now that they were not alone, and that the universe was a dangerous place. Admiral Taman was eventually released and returned to Velcor space. Before he left, he met with General Deho one final time. You have changed things, Taman said. The galaxy will never see your species as weak again. Good, Deho replied. That was the goal. Taman extended one of his 4 hands. It was a gesture he had learned from humans, a handshake. Perhaps someday, our species can be friends instead of enemies. Deho took his hand and shook it firmly. Perhaps. But that day is far away. For now, just remember what you learned here. Taman nodded. I will never forget. He boarded his ship and departed Earth. As he flew into the stars, he looked back at the blue planet one last time. Incredible creatures, he whispered to himself. Absolutely incredible. On the surface below, Yuna and Jinwoo stood together, watching the alien ship disappear into the night sky. Do you think there will be peace now? Yuna asked. Jinwoo thought about it for a moment. Maybe, maybe not, but whatever comes, We will face it together. He looked up at the stars that had once seemed so distant and unreachable. The galaxy knows about us now, and they know one thing for certain. What is that? Yuna asked. Jinwoo smiled. That humanity is not afraid. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the message from Earth continued to travel, carrying a simple truth to every corner of the galaxy. Earth had awakened, and the universe would never be the same.